All right. So here's the other thing. This is something that people question. They'll say, look, so many people already have podcasts. Why should I do it? Well, I've told you why you should do it. And how can I even get noticed? There's 700,000 podcasts. Alex, that's up more than 100,000 from last year. It's
Wow.
it's it's growing quick, but here's the thing. A lot of them are dead. They're no longer active. They're just out there, and a lot of them aren't very good. So
Right.
there is that, but there are ways you can stand out. One is have a conversation. I deliberately picked this photo because this is what I want you to imagine, except you can even maybe remove four of the people from the picture
Yeah,
because
I
you
love
need,
that. I love
yeah,
that. And for those of you that are listening right now and you can't see it, it's a photo of a guy at a almost like a kitchen table, standing up and chatting. And there's five other people that are looking at him and just listening to him as he has a conversation with them. It's a very warm setting.
and that's right. That's the key to a podcast. You have to treat it not like a presentation, not like a radio show. And this is where it's a little contrary to what you might hear in other places, because a lot of people do treat theirs like a show, but I personally don't, because of what I'm trying to accomplish with my show. That I just want it to feel, if Alex is listening, I just want it to seem like it's me and Alex, and that's
Yep.
it. So if you treat it like a conversation, you're going to stand out because so many shows have the same feel. And here's the other piece that where this matters is, so let's say I listen to Alex on his podcast and I just decide to start a podcast. And then I think, well, I should cut. Well, this comes into one of my other points coming up. As I start to think, well, Alex does this, I'm going to do what Alex does. And that doesn't always work. There's some really popular podcasters that people try to copy, and they're great to learn from. Anybody that's been around for a little while, they have something you can learn from. Just don't copy somebody else, because it's not you and it won't feel like a conversation. So that focusing on making it a conversation is one of the ways you can stand out. The next is what I call the park ranger interpretation method. And if you see the video, this is me as a park ranger. I was a ranger for 8 years, and I learned there is a method to the way park rangers tell stories, and you remember them. If you've ever been to a campfire talk, an interpretive hike, there's something very deliberate that goes on. And that is, a park ranger tells a story. They tell why that story matters to the individual. So you're connecting it one-on-one like a conversation. Then there is an action, a call to action. This is what I want you to do, or this is what you can do. And then at the end, I call it preach, just because it's kind of like a wrap up. It's just, that it helps with the excitement a little bit. And I'll let you in on a secret. I added the preach because then it became swap, and I like that better, because what you're doing is you're
Story, why it
swapping.
matters, action, and preach. Swap. I love
Yes,
it.
swap, because you're swapping your enthusiasm to the other person.
Yeah.
And so if you can follow a formula like this, and we talk about this in Podcast Magic, then that helps connect people. The stories are what matter. Like Alex talks about people coming up and talking about the episode about his daughter. They remember that because that is a story that they can connect with, especially if they have kids. They connect to Alex's story about his daughter.
Yep.
And
So
the
true.
last one is to have the right content. So this is, as an example, we did an episode of Creating Disney Magic about making a connection with customers. Well, people that listen to Creating Disney Magic, they quite often are Disney fans, and not just going to the park, but Disney fans as in they realize there's something special that goes on there. How do they do it? So we focus on that a lot. And you have the right content by not trying to be Jody Mayberry, not trying to be Alex branding, you be yourself. And that allows you to come up with stories because you're using your own stories. That allows you to understand what customers are asking for, or the type of questions you get asked, or what you see going on in the world. And then you create content around that. And that is where you become unique. So when you combine those three things, that you're having a conversation, you're doing it in the right way, the swap method, the park ranger method, and then you're doing it all with the right content, you're going to stand out. It doesn't matter that there's 700,000 podcasts, and it doesn't matter if you only have 12 listeners. It doesn't matter if 10 of those 12 connect with you deeply. Man, that's more, to me, that's more valuable than having 100 people listen. So that's what you're going for, is that connection with people.
I would say to that, a listener base, I would, because I have on my Instagram, and I'm only sharing these numbers as contrast, I have over 30,000 followers on my Instagram account. I get about 5,000 listeners to my podcast a week. I have more conversations with my podcast listeners than I do with my Instagram followers, even though I have far more Instagram followers. The podcast is such an intimate conversation, whereas the Instagram follower, they'll scroll by, they'll like my photos, they'll maybe send me a short message, like a thumbs up on my story. But the podcast, that's a person who's really investing in a relationship, getting a much more value out of it. And so I love my podcast listeners. The number may be smaller than my Instagram followers, my email list, etc. But those are the people that I'm really building a relationship with because of the regular content that I'm able to share with them and that they're listening to. I mean, a podcast episode is, for me, it's anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, and we're having that 10 to 15 minute conversation every week.
And I do know, since we're talking about numbers, I always tell people it's not about the numbers, but everybody looks at numbers. I can tell you over and over, it's not about the numbers. And I know you're still going to look at the numbers, but let me put it this way. So some people get disappointed in the numbers. So let's say you get 100 people a month listening to your show, not per episode, not per week, 100 per month. And you say, oh my goodness, no one's listening to my show. What if you had the chance to go give a 20-minute talk to 100 people at once a month? Isn't that pretty? I would be happy with that.
Oh,
Alex.
yeah, that's fantastic.
100 people showed up to see me.
Absolutely.
So you just have to look at it that way, not get, like, Creating Disney Magic is an incredibly popular show. It's been in the top business podcasts, iTunes, for years straight. And my personal show doesn't come anywhere near that. And I could say, oh, I shouldn't even do this because it doesn't compete with Creating Disney Magic. Or I could say, wow, I have a certain number of people that are devoted to me. They don't listen because I'm with Lee Cockrell. They show up to listen just to me. And that's the right way to look at it, because
absolutely,
I'm just thrilled. Anybody wants to come and listen, and I help educate them, and I've done business with several people that came from the podcast. So it's a great way. And so Alex mentioned the course, and we have a special link for you. You want to use this. If you do get the course, you want to use this link to make sure you get the bonuses from Alex.
AlexBranning.com/Jody. That's JODY, AlexBranning.com/Jody. So for those of you that are going to get the course, we're going to dive into what's in the course in just a moment, but I'm going to include some bonuses for you. The first one is I'm going to include that cool little training showing you how I take the content and multiply it. I'm actually going to send you the microphone that I use. I'm going to pay for it on Amazon for you, have it shipped directly to your house. That way you have it. You have no excuses not to do it. You'll have the microphone that I use. It's very nice, pretty expensive. And then if you want to have an interview, style podcast, I'm happy to schedule that interview with you for one of their first podcast episode shows. So again, you'll get my content multiplier, you'll get the microphone that you can use, and you're going to be able to interview me on your brand new podcast. So Jody, go ahead and show them what's in the course. You've really, as Jody pulls it up, one of the things that that I was looking at when I wanted to promote a podcast starting course was I wanted to make sure that all of the different things that I struggled with were addressed in the course. And Jody's done that. So he's pulling up the podcast magic sales page right now, which you'll see at alexbranding.com/JODY/Jody. Go ahead and walk us through the course that you put together here, the Podcast Magic course, and outline the different sections that are inside of this.
So there's 6 different modules, and the lessons in these are very short. And I did that on purpose, the short lessons, because there's pieces you're going to want to come back to. And if it was long lessons, it might be hard to find individual pieces. So we start off just with an introduction on how I got started. And it's kind of a good story, but it will also show you how you can use your background to get going in podcasting, that it's who you are that makes it individual. Next, we're going to move into the fundamentals of podcast magic. What we're going to talk about, why people need to hear your voice, specifically your voice, why it's important you start now instead of waiting. Alex, did you know I launched my first podcast 6 years ago, and I recorded 6 episodes and then just sat on them for months before
That is
releasing
not
them.
uncommon. I'm not going to name names, but I know someone who's had a very successful podcast. It's done wonders to build her business. And she recorded 8 episodes and then didn't release them for almost a year. As soon as she released those episodes and told her audience about it, her phone was ringing off the hook with people who wanted to learn more about the topics that she covered on the podcast. So it's that fear. We say we're going to take the steps. Like, for those people that are going to go and get Podcast Magic right now, they're going to get that excitement of getting the course. They're going to have the microphone that I'm going to send them show up on their doorstep. And then sometimes that fear hits. So I'm so glad that you talked about that, because I had the same thing. When I started my podcast, I was excited. I was ramped up, ready to go. Then I recorded it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of nervous to hit the publish button. But obviously, I'm so glad that I did. Here we are over 2 years later, and it's had a huge impact on my business. So I love that you went over the mindset stuff. That's a great topic, and people may need to come back to it.
Yeah, I just think, man, if I had started when I first recorded those, where would I be now? I would have a better head start. Now it's turned out great, but man, I could have got there even sooner. So the module 3, all the lessons are about developing your content. So we're going to talk about the things that you need to know. I'm going to tell you why most podcasts fail. The average podcast makes it to 7 episodes, and then it's done. They don't keep going. We're going to talk about why, so you can avoid that. And then I'm going to give you a template for your first 5 episodes, tell you exactly how to structure and what to say in your first episode, which is an introductory episode. And we'll go on about organizing podcast ideas, how to have that conversation. I mentioned the conversation with your audience is important. We're going to talk about that. Go deeper into the park ranger interpretation method. And then we'll even cover podcast cover art, theme song, what the title episode. So that little stuff that maybe you didn't think about or weren't sure where to go. And then in module 4, we actually get into the technical side. I am not a very technical guy. So if you're really into equipment, you can spend as much as you want. But if you're not a technical guy like me, my microphone, now Alex is going to send you a microphone, which is probably even better than the one I use. But the truth is, you don't need a $500 microphone. There are people that spend $500-$600 on a microphone, and what Alex and I use is not that expensive, and it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
So we're even walk through the actual recording. We'll do some editing basics, and my secret weapon for sound quality, which I'll tell you now, is Auphonic. I love Auphonic, but we'll walk you through how to use that. In module 5, this is some of the part that can bog you down if you're new to it, and that's getting your show live. So it's how to prepare for launch day, how to set up. Alex and I both use Libsyn, how to set up everything you need in Libsyn, and then how to submit your podcast to all the right places, the channels where you want it to be. The big ones are Apple Podcast and Stitcher and iHeart, and there's more, and we walk through all of them in there. And then module 6 is
so
after
that's huge, real fast. Just
sure.
I love all this. That was one of the things where I got stuck, and I'm pretty tech savvy, and I was like, I don't know what to do here. So you've put that all together here, man. It's so easy. I mean, the headaches that you, as the person who's about to take action and start your own podcast, the number of headaches that Jody is, sidestepping for you is amazing. I'm sending you the microphone because that's one of the things that people get stuck on. His course is stepping over the first episodes. He's giving you the template for that, showing you cover art templates that you can use right away, getting your podcast submitted. I mean, this is literally taking you by the hand and making it so that you get your podcast started. I don't use the word easily, but pretty darn easily. He's removing all of the speed bumps along the way.
Yeah. So I will tell you, this is, as I've done 1,100 plus episodes, I've taken notes the whole route and known where I messed up and where I could have done better and what's worked and the pieces that hung me up in the beginning, and just realizing, gosh, if somebody knew this, it sure would help them out. And this is all in there. And then we finish with what to do after you launch your show. So how long can you, so Alex said he started with 1, he's up to 5,000. Well, how long does that take? What can you expect? And how to get reviews, 4 ways to create a profitable podcast. And here's the other thing. I am not done creating this course. Through coaching that I do, there's more coming. Yeah. Through the coaching I do and other just topics come up, and I think, that should probably be in Podcast Magic. I've got 3 notes for 3 lessons just sitting on my desk waiting for me to create them. So it's not done. There's more coming. And then I'm always there to help. Alex is around. So as you go through the course, you can also reach out and ask questions.
So they're getting lifetime access to this when they take action. It's not just what's in there now. They're getting lifetime access. They're getting all the updates that you'll be adding to it, the new lessons. They'll be able to reach out to you if they get stuck on some of the stuff. And you can, you'll be able to get back to them over email. So, I mean, this is really a one-stop shop, you guys, and this is why I'm so excited to introduce this. I just think Jody's put together something that you need. For those of you starting a podcast, this is it. This is all you need. And the one thing that didn't come with it, which was the microphone, I'm sending to you. So you have that too. So go to alexbranding.com/Jody, grab Podcast Magic, and let's work on getting your podcast up and going together into 2020. I am super excited about it. I'm a huge believer in podcasts. I know that every single person can benefit from it. And he shows you how to make your podcast profitable. And for those of you that are numbers geeks like me, that's one of the things that we're looking at is how can we make this an investment? He covers that. So the entire thing is all set up and ready to go for you at alexbranding.com/Jody.
And my last comment is Podcast Magic is great. The addition of Alex's bonuses to get a microphone, and you don't have to worry about that. And the lessons he's going to give you on how to repurpose content, that's not covered. I mean, I say you can repurpose content. I talk about it in the course. I don't show you how. Alex does. So that's a wonderful bonus.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Jody. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate you and all the work you've put into this. I know it's been a labor of love. And for those of you that are taking action, I'm excited to be on your podcast as one of your first interview guests. Thank you guys so much. alexbranding.com/Jody to grab Podcast Magic. Jody, I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
Talk to you later.